If we can have our panelists come up and sit here in these three chairs. Randy Minshew, calling for Randy Minshew. Okay.
Two of my favorite mayors of all time.
We're going to go ahead and begin in interest of time and lunch. And I'll give this to you, Matthew. Yep. In fact, this one also works. Okay. So,
Looking forward to this.
let me introduce the panelists, starting with our moderator. Matthew Peterson is the conference co-lead and resides in Poolesville, Maryland. Matthew has a BS in accounting and an MA in economics, and is currently the director of NERA Economic Consulting. He has testified before federal and state regulatory commissions on matters involving valuation, purchase accounting, financing of construction, and general accounting. Kwesi Frazier was born in Guyana, migrated to the United States in 1982, and grew up in Brooklyn, New York. He received a BS in engineering at the State University of New York at Stony Brook and an MBA from Rutgers University. He has worked for AT&T Wireless, Sprint Nextel, and Verizon. He is a four-term mayor of Purcellville, Virginia, serving from 2014 to 2023. Kwesi was recently appointed by Governor Youngkin to serve on the Virginia Clean Energy Advisory Board, and he is currently president of Guyana Infrastructure Consortium. Randy Minshew grew up in Fairfax County, Virginia, attended Duke University, then Washington and Lee Law School in Lexington, Virginia. He moved to Leesburg in 1991 after clerking for Supreme Court of Virginia Justice Christian Compton to practice law. He has served in the Virginia House of Delegates, Virginia House of Delegates from 2012 through 2017 in Virginia's 10th District. Randy also holds a diploma in theology from Virginia Theological Seminary and is an active lay Eucharistic minister and visitor at St. James Episcopal Church just down the street in Leesburg. He is currently the managing shareholder in the Loudoun County, Virginia office of Walsh, Colucci, Lubley, and Walsh. Kristen Umstadt is a native of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She graduated from Yale University and has a JD from Yale Law School. She moved to Virginia in 1981 while on active duty as a lieutenant in the U.S. Naval Reserve. She and her husband, Charles K. Moss, moved to Leesburg in 1987 and have been practicing law together ever since. Kristen served on the Leesburg Town Council from 1992 to 2016 and served as mayor between 2002 and 2016. She was elected to the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors in 2015, then re-elected in 2019 and 2023. We'll hand it over to Matthew Peterson.
Thank you, Chris. Is this one working? Yeah. All right. Well, it's an honor to be involved in this, and it's been a wonderful experience this morning for me. What we'd like to do with this panel is, can I get closer?
Get closer.
Okay. We'd like to, hopefully I can ask questions that will elicit from you your thoughts and experiences with how faith has interacted with government and strengthened society. And I'll tee that up a little more after the first question. So I thought I'd start with this. As a longtime resident of Loudoun County before I moved back to Maryland, in 3 different parts of the county, I was struck by the number, variety, and vibrancy of faith communities here. As a citizen and an elected leader, what thoughts came to your mind as Kayla Kemp and Dee Alsop painted Loudoun's religious landscape? And what personal observations would you add or emphasize?
That's a great question. I'll lead off. Can you hear me real well? Yeah.
Please.
One thing that is a central theme in all the people we heard today could be described in the way that in the Jewish faith they put forth in their prayer called the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one. That theme of centrality, of oneness of God, is something we see in pretty much all of not only just the Abrahamic faiths, but all the faiths. And there's a unity there that I think kind of applies to appreciating the brotherhood of all mankind, and that applies both in politics and religion. Let me pass this on to my two favorite mayors.
No, thank you. And Chris, thank you very much for setting this up. So what resonated with me today was, it goes back to that twin virtue of love and also truth, right? The presentation was talking, one thing that was central was love. As mayor of Purcellville, I saw that love displayed with our church community. As Pastor Welch mentioned, 221 South Nursery Avenue was their church. Then it became our town hall where we govern and make laws. And within that small town of Purcellville, you see the love in community. Even when we're going through struggles, we get together. During the COVID-19, we were able to have all of the faith ministry come together and obtain food from the USDA to provide to our food banks. So it's that love and truth and the need to help our fellow man. So I'll pass it on to my favorite mayor.
Thank you, favorite mayor. You know, one of the things we see in Leesburg is a strong sense of community, and we see a lot of congregations that are very active. Countywide, one of the things I really love about this county is the fact that so many faith leaders work together. He was not earlier introduced, but Rizwan Jaka is towards the back with the Adams Center. Every time there was any attack on any synagogue, church, or mosque, anywhere in the country, and often anywhere in the world, when Rizwan was in charge of community outreach, we would all receive an email from Rizwan talking about how his Muslim community cried with whatever community had been victimized. And I thought this was one of the most decent means of outreach I'd ever seen. So I want to personally thank Rizwan for having done that for so many years. We, on the Board of Supervisors and previously on the Leesburg Town Council, we often had an opportunity to work with a church, either an existing church that wanted to expand or a new church that wanted to locate here. And the question was, how would we, in charge of a decision to approve it or not, how would we react? And some took different positions, but most of us in elected office would take the position that our faith community, no matter what the faith is, has done such a wonderful job filling in for government where government doesn't have the resources to help, that it is in the interest of our larger society to accommodate expansions or new additions to our faith community. And we came down to a particular vote that comes to mind on the Board of Supervisors a couple years ago, which was, should we support legislation in the General Assembly that would enable us at the local level to donate taxpayer funds to nonprofits that may be affiliated with a church or a mosque or a synagogue or a temple. And our board split. And some members of the board did not want to do that, and their feeling was it was an infringement on the separation of church and state. But by a slim majority, and I was part of that slim majority, most of us decided that as long as the affiliate, the nonprofit, such as Catholic Charities, was willing to serve people across all faiths and all religions, then we should be able to donate to their charitable efforts the same way that we would donate to an unaffiliated charity that did the same work. So in the end, most of us on the board went in that direction, but it was close. So there's a recognition of the need to make sure all faiths are treated equally, and that government not step on the toes of any particular faith. But in my opinion, we should also recognize that churches and synagogues and mosques and temples do wonderful work for the community, not just instilling virtue in their members and godly lessons, but also the most fundamental charitable acts, often giving food to those who otherwise would not be able to get it.
So let's see. I want to talk about unity and tee it up with a couple of quotes. Anthropologist Ruth Benedict observed, "What really binds people together in their communities is their culture, the ideas and the standards they have in common." Philosopher and theologian Paul Tillich suggests that religion is the meaning-giving substance of culture. In your public service, how have you seen shared religious ideals bring unity or bind us together in our community?
That's a good question, and I think what I'd like to do, if you would allow me to go back and quote from President Washington. He kind of set the stage for so much of what we are as Americans, and there's only one speech that is read every year in the United States Senate, and that is George Washington's farewell address, where he touches upon so much of what we are as America, even though we were just finishing the term of our first president. And he talked about the importance of religious principles being enmeshed into our culture, knowing full well that we were not a Christian nation. We may have been founded on these principles that came from those founding fathers who were men and women of faith. And Washington wrote this. This is how he ended his farewell address. "And let us caution, indulge this supposition that morality can be maintained without religion. Whatever may be concealed to the influence of refined education on minds of a particular structure, reason and experience both forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail in the exclusion of religious principle." What Washington's saying there is he's not telling that there is no national religion, but religious principles is a fundamental element of morality. And if we're going to have a society that is just and good, that appreciates what we Christians call the golden rule, it's got to be premised upon morality. So that's why I don't think there's ever a problem if you're a public servant, serving elected office, to